Okay, so we've just gotten our very first look at HBO's new Lantern series. And wow, it is not what anyone was expecting. This show is supposed to be one of the huge cornerstones for the new DC universe. And right out of the gate, this first footage shows us it's going to be far from your typical superhero story. So let's break down everything we just learned.
Right off the bat, the biggest surprise here is the tone. I mean, if you were expecting some bright, colorful space opera, just throw that idea out the window. The creators are literally comparing lanterns to True Detective. That tells you everything you need to know, right? We're talking a dark, gritty, character-driven crime story. What a bold choice, and it immediately makes this show feel completely different.
So to really get a handle on what makes this series tick, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll look at how it's way more of a grounded crime story than a superhero show. Then, we'll dive into the central murder mystery that kicks this whole thing off. After that, we'll get into the 2 heroes at the center of it all and their clashing personalities. We'll also explore the wider world of the Lanterns, and finally, we'll connect all the dots to see why this show is so incredibly important for the future of the DC Universe.
Okay, first up, this is way more than just superheroes. They are really pulling away from that huge cosmic spectacle and planting this story's feet firmly on the ground.
You know, the whole show seems to be built around one simple but powerful question. What would it really be like if Green Lanterns existed in our world right now? So this isn't about giant space battles. No, we're getting a mystery set right here on Earth, deep in the American heartland, and the focus is all on the human drama, not the cosmic fireworks.
So how does that grounded idea actually play out? Well, it all kicks off with a murder mystery. And this mystery is the engine that's going to drive the entire series.
Here's the setup. Our 2 main Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, are called to a small town in Nebraska to investigate a homicide. But listen, this is no simple open and shut case. This mystery is apparently going to unearth a secret that is way deeper and way darker than it first appears. And it's a secret with consequences that are going to ripple across the entire new DC universe.
But here's where it gets really juicy. There's a key phrase in the official synopsis. It mentions old accounts, and that has fans, speculating like crazy. Could this whole mystery be tied to Hal Jordan's past? Maybe even his greatest nemesis, Sinestro? It definitely feels like Hal's history is coming back to haunt him in a very, very deadly way.
And that brings us perfectly to our third section, this unlikely partnership. Because the real heart of this series isn't just the mystery, it's the explosive, volatile dynamic between the 2 leads, Hal Jordan and John Stewart.
And man, these 2 could not be more different. On one hand, you've got Hal Jordan. He's the seasoned, weary veteran who's seen it all, done it all. His approach is just direct, punch first, ask questions later. He'll make a giant green fist. But then you have John Stewart. He's the rookie, a former architect, and his power ring constructs are precise, they're intricate, they're beautifully designed. So this isn't just a personality clash, it's a completely different philosophy on how to even use their power.
And this whole dynamic is just perfectly shown in one incredibly tense scene. Hal flat out tells John he isn't ready for this life. And then, get this, he takes off his own power ring, puts it on the car's dashboard, gets out, and just walks away, leaving John completely stranded. It is a brutal sink or swim kind of test, and the message is crystal clear. Prove you're worthy of this ring by saving yourself with it, or you don't belong here at all.
All right, let's zoom out a little bit for our 4th section, the world of the Green Lanterns. Because beyond just the main characters, this first footage is packed with some really fascinating details about how the show is treating the bigger mythology.
Now, for anyone who might be new to this, here's a super quick refresher. The Green Lantern Corps is basically an intergalactic police force. Its members are chosen because of their incredible willpower, and they carry these power rings that can create literally anything the user can imagine. It turns your thoughts into real, physical stuff.
And it looks like this show is absolutely leaning into the little details. For one, every lantern's ring has its own unique design. We can see Hal's ring is all scratched up and scarred, a perfect visual cue for his long, hard career. We even get a name drop of Chip, the fan favorite squirrel lantern. And maybe most importantly, the suits themselves look practical and textured. They're clearly moving away from that all CGI look we've seen in the past, and that is a huge deal.
So all of this leads us to our final and honestly the most crucial point. Why this show matters so much for the entire future of the DC universe. And we don't even have to guess, because the head of DC Studios, James Gunn, he basically gave us the key himself. He said this show has a very important theme about replacement. It's about knowing when it's time for one person to step aside for another. And what that really means is
This series is a foundational story. It's not just a standalone mystery. It's explicitly designed to pass the torch from one hero to the next. The entire narrative, the entire conflict, is about getting Jon Stewart ready to step up and become the primary Green Lantern of Earth, the one who's going to eventually stand side by side with Superman and Batman in the new Justice League.
So, when you look at it, Lanterns might seem like a gritty detective show on the surface, but it's actually an origin story and a succession plan all rolled into one. And that leaves us with one massive question. Are we about to witness the beginning of the end for Hal Jordan's era and the definitive rise of Jon Stewart as the hero who will carry that green light for a whole new generation? It really seems like the future of the DCU starts right here in a small town in Nebraska.